Good morning, scientists. Have a seat and let's get started. So this says Wednesday, but it should say Happy Thursday, April 2nd. And your warm-up is how do you think exercise will affect heart rate? And explain why. Go ahead and open your warm-up document and put this on Thursday, April 2nd. And when you're finished, continue the video. We're going to start off by going over your modeling circulation activity. So if you would go ahead and look at that in Shobi. So for number 1, list the organs and structures that you passed through on the path that you took. Everybody's might be different. You could have taken different paths. Same is true for number 3. Number 4, which organs does the blood have to pass through each time it goes around the human body? So no matter what path you took, as blood passed through an organ, it's going to head back to the heart, and from there it's going to go to the lungs. So each complete path is going to take the blood through the heart twice, because it's going to go through both sides, and the lungs once. Why do you think blood always has to pass through these organs? This was for you to think through, so you may have had a different answer than I do. But the heart has to pump that deoxygenated blood that's coming back from the body to the heart and then to the lungs so it can get rid of that carbon dioxide and it can pick up the oxygen that's needed. And then the blood has to come back from the lungs, get to the heart, so it can then pump that oxygenated blood out to the body. For the table, number 6, pumps blood is the heart. That's the circulatory system, brings oxygen into the body. That would be your lungs. Your lungs also release the carbon dioxide from the body, and those are both respiratory. Absorbs nutrients. That would be the intestines. Remember, small intestines. That's the digestive system. And carries gases and nutrients around the body. That would be the blood, and that's the circulatory system. You can go ahead and pause this if you need to take some time to add to your homework. Okay, if you would now open the 6-7 heart cycle, we're going to do this together. Go ahead and pause until you're ready. You may even want to split screen your Notability document, the heart cycle, and this video. So in this that we're going to do together, you're going to follow the flow of blood through the heart. You're going to need to know this path for your test. You know your heart has 2 jobs, and the 2 sides have separate responsibilities. The left is pumping the oxygen-rich blood from your lungs, and the right is pumping that deoxygenated, waste-carrying blood back from your body cells. When the blood has made one round trip, in other words, it's gone all the way around, we call that a heart cycle. Now, this project, you're going to go through a heart cycle, just one side, but it's important that you know that blood is flowing from both sides of the heart at the same time. So that means when the right atrium contracts, pumps its blood, the left atrium is contracting at the same time. Same with the ventricles. Both the right and left are contracting and pumping blood at the same time. It's also important to remember that in biological drawings, they'll typically use blue to represent deoxygenated blood and red to represent oxygenated blood. We're going to use blue circles to follow the deoxygenated blood through the right side of the heart and red circles to follow the oxygenated blood through the left side of the heart. Okay, so each stage is going to instruct you to place colored circles on the number diagram. You're going to place those circles on the correct numbers, and then you're going to make sure that you're using the color that you were told to use, red or blue. Now, we're not going to use actual circles. We're actually going to just use our pen in Notability, maybe increase the thickness of your pen stroke and just put dots. That'll be really easy. So you're just going to dot wherever the instructions tell you to. So if you look at stage 1, it's explaining that deoxygenated blood is entering the right atrium through the superior and inferior vena cava. You're going to place blue circles on the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Go ahead and do that now. Then you're going to go to the page that has the diagrams A, B, C, D, E, F, and you're going to sketch what that looks like. So here on the diagram, you'll just tap it so that you have dots. It's going to look like this. Then you're going to go ahead to the diagram and you're going to color in those areas that the dots are covering. So it would look like this on the diagram page. Now, if you'd like to finish the rest of this on your own, stage 2 is telling you, describing that when the right atrium is full, it's going to contract and it's going to force the blood through the tricuspid valve, remember, tri before you buy, and into that right ventricle. So you're going to need to remove the blue circles from stage 1. So you can either delete them or you can use your scissors tool and you can just drag them onto the numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Then you'll go to the page with the diagrams and sketch those color circles on diagram B. So again, if you'd like to continue and do this on your own, go ahead and pause now, and when you finish, hit play, and I will show you what your diagrams should look like when you're finished. And there you have it. You'll notice A, B, and C all have deoxygenated blood because they're coming back from the body cells, then going out to the lungs. You'll notice D, E, F, the blood is now oxygenated because it's coming back in from the lungs into that left atrium through the pulmonary veins, the left ventricle, and then out the aorta. And of course, passing through the bicuspid valve. Okay, for the questions. Again, if you'd like to answer these questions, you can try them on your own. The first one, through which veins does deoxygenated blood enter the right atrium? You can use those diagrams. Number 2, what structure does the blood have to pass through before it goes into that right ventricle? And then number 3, where is the blood pumped after it leaves the right ventricle? And here are the answers. If you want to pause to write those down. And you can do the same thing for number 4, 5, and 6. Pause, try to answer those. And when you're finished, go ahead and check your answers. And that completes part 1 of our day. If you would now go ahead, we are going to actually do a lab. So if you would now open your heart rate lab. So the question is, how does exercise affect your heart rate? Now, I have attached to Google Classroom a really short video on how to take your heart rate. But for this lab, if you've got an Apple Watch or some other device that measures your heart rate, you can use that too. So what you're going to do in this lab is you are going to take your pulse for 1 minute. Now, what you're going to do is first, you're taking it at rest. And like it explains in the video, you can take your pulse for 30 seconds and then you can multiply that by 2. You can take it for 15 seconds and multiply it. Oh, I'm sorry. You can take it for 30 seconds and multiply it by 2. 15 seconds, multiply it by 4. Whatever's easiest. You're going to record your results in data table 1. Now you'll notice I've just put pretend classmates for trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, and trial 4. If you'd like to erase those and FaceTime a friend and do this with a friend or a family member, you can do that too. So you're just going to do this resting heart rate for 4 times, and then you're going to find the average, and you're going to fill that in here. Remember the average, you add these and divide by 4. Then you're going to do the same for your pulse. Now, for part 2, your pretend classmate has run in place for 1 minute. And I mean a really good run. Go outside and do this. Then you are going to have your classmate, or you can just use the pretend data there. You are going to take the pulse each minute for 8 minutes in a row after he or she stops running. So you're not going to run and then take it, run again and then take it. You're going to run really hard for a minute, then you're going to take your pulse. Then in another minute, you're going to take your pulse. So you're going to continue doing this. So this should take you 8 minutes. And notice you're not finding the average here. So what you're looking for is what's happening to your pulse in those 8 minutes. So this is going to be right here, right after you've run. And then after a minute, here it's gone down a little bit, and so on. So you're going to do that for you as well. Then you're going to make a line graph. And remember, we're going to use a line graph because line graphs show how data changes over time. So we're going to be checking this over 8 minutes. So what you can see is you're just going to graph the data here. So if I was going to graph the classmate's pulse at 1 minute, I would go at the 1 minute, this is the time, and I would go up to 93, and I'm just going to estimate that's going to be about here, and I'm going to put a dot. I'm going to do that for each minute, so after minute 2, 89 is going to be about here, and so on. You're going to have 2 lines here. Do yours in one color and either your pretend classmates or your real classmates in the other. Don't forget, after you have your dots in place, to connect them. So you don't just have the dots, you have the lines. When you're finished with that, take a couple of minutes and just answer the questions. Come to conclusions. You can answer that on this next page. And then just some reminders I have in the Thursday, April 2nd daily plan. That heart rate lab is due in Shobi by 10 a.m. on Friday. I've attached the study guide again. It's the same study guide. This will be for extra credit. This is not required. It is optional. There will be an online circulatory system test next Wednesday, April 8th. So get excited about that. I will be attaching Quizlet, quizzes, reviews, and you've got the Kahoot. So if you have any questions, don't forget that there will be office hours, and I look forward to seeing your faces and being able to clear up anything and answer any questions. Praying for you. Love you.